everyone, and welcome to Cafesito with Claudia and Ana here at GTS Credit. Today we're going to be talking about the credit agencies and FICO Enhancement. So what's credit restoration and FICO Enhancement? What is it? So
Claudia, why don't we start by talking about the three credit bureaus? Who are they and what do they do?
Okay, so there's a lot of credit companies out there, okay, but the three main ones are Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion.
Okay.
So they're the ones that hold the largest database of everyone that has a social number and that applies for credit. So by the time you turn 16, 17 and you start applying for credit, they are the ones that are going to be holding the large file. But there's many other companies out there. Now we have the fourth one, which is FICO. That's the algorithm that is a software that's calculating all the information that the three main bureaus hold. Okay, so we need to understand that they are for-profit companies, which means they are independently owned and they make their own guidelines. So they're not government backed, they are not businesses that have anything attached to what we think like the IRS. Okay.
So they're basically like data
collecting companies.
Okay, so they get our information, and who do they get our information from?
From all the finance companies. So every time you apply for credit, every time you hold any credit with anyone, those companies will pay the credit bureaus to hold that information on there. They're not free, so it's not free where you could say, oh, let me send your information to Experian just so they have it. No, I would have to pay Experian for them to hold that information. The number one reason we want the information to be there for a finance company, it's because that's leverage for them to say, if you ever default, I'm gonna let everybody know that you are a risk client and that they need to be careful with you. That way they start closing the doors on you for you to be able to access credit from everybody else.
So these financial institutions are paying the credit bureaus, they're paying them a fee. And that fee is so that we could also, that credit financial institution is going to give them our data to keep it so that they could see if I'm going to be a risk.
Yes.
Is that what you?
Yes.
Okay.
So their main job is to calculate risk. That's the main job. How safe are you as a client for me to be able to give you my money? Mm-hmm. Because think about it. Every time we're financing something is because we don't have the money. If you had $2 million just sitting there as extra money, would you go and borrow $40,000 to buy a car?
No.
Of course not, right? The problem is that we don't have the $2 million just sitting there as extra money. So the way that I'm going to acquire my car or my student loan or anything that I want or need is by asking for somebody else's money for me to use and acquire what I need or want. So with this, as on the other side, as a finance company, I have to take a look at what your habits are. Are you safe for me to recoup my money back if I'm going to lend it to you, or are you a risk? So that's how these companies came about. You know, before it used to be called, the wagon committee.
The welcoming
wagon committee. You know, they would come in and, you would move into the neighborhood. They would bring goodies as a basket. You would think, oh my gosh, this neighborhood's so cool because they're, here to say, we're so happy you're here.
I actually read about the group of women that would come in and welcome you, and basically they were just trying to look for information about who you were, what kind of furniture you had, and and now it's moved on to an actual company where they're collecting our data.
Yes.
But when I'm understanding or guessing, and you could probably clarify this for me, some of the data is incorrect or is erroneous, which then affects us as the consumers, correct?
Yes. So when they got started, it was just, I'm collecting all the information. I'm going to place it on the system, and that's what it is. So back in 1971, because there were so many errors, there was so much information on there that wasn't correct, the government came in, Congress came in and said, you know what, we have to write some type of law that's going to protect the consumer. So they wrote the Fair Credit Reporting Act of 1971, which It's long if you want to sit there and read it, have fun,
course.
but it's very long. So, but to summarize it really just is very specific to say, as a consumer, you have the legal right to question any error that you see on your credit profile. Because in order for the credit bureaus to put anything on your data, on your report, it has to be verified, which means they have to verify that you're the actual person, it's your actual account. It has to be 100% correct, no errors, or based on the guidelines that they have, it's a specific time that they could only hold that information on your credit for. So in order for them to be monitored and it could be fair for the consumer, this law came about. Thank you for watching our videos, and you can always follow us on our webpage, gtscredit.com, Facebook, Yelp,
Instagram, and Twitter.